that we should note, and obviously it's a little bit weird about the way that the county makes the taxes, but it's my understanding that every county does it the same way. But for example, this is a bill, and the bill is for 2023. Now, the first thing is that the taxes for 2023, they cover the fiscal year of July of 2023 to June 30 of 2024. So the bill is called taxes for 2023, but they cover the semester of next year, which is the first semester of next year, which is 2024. So that's a little bit weird of the way that they do it, but the same time, and if you see a small comment over here, it says this bill is prepared based on the owner in January 1st, 2023. It's a small letters, but it says owner of record as of January 1st, 2023. So that's the way that the county prepares the taxes. They prepare the taxes. They usually prepare them around September, August and September of 1 year, and they prepare them based on the owner in January 1st of that same year. So in a way, what I put here on the first page is a presentation of 2023 and 2024, and the secure property taxes are from the second semester of 23 to the first semester of 24. Make sense? So let's go to the next page, Dawson. So I have a contract, and I have a contract is for $650,000, and it's for this property, Colbat. So let's go to the next slide. If I see before we go to the next slide, Dawson, I saw that the sellers is basically a state of Diane Frost, and Diane is already deceased, but it's a state. So the first thing that kicks in my mind is, this owner probably had the property for a while. So let's go to the next slide. So I do a property profile, and I do a property profile on the property, and they're paying for the tax year 2023. They're paying $1,000. They're paying $1,000 for taxes, for property taxes for the whole year. Let's go to the next slide. And the next slide, just to confirm, this is the tax certification. And in the tax certification, they're paying $1,000, and those $1,000 are based in two installments, one for $523 and another one for $523. If it has penalty, it's $53, but the installment by itself is $1,070, the yearly, two installments of $533, and another installment for $533. So in the next slide, in a sense, I go back to the presentation that I gave you. This is the first semester, second semester, and for the whole year, they're paying $1,070 for the whole year on two installments of $533. Make sense? Questions? No? So now I have a client, and the client is buying the property at $650,000. We're projected to close this December. We're actually projected to close next week. So next week is going to be December 5th. So let's go to the next slide. Perdón. Okay, so this is my client. I'm doing a DSCR loan. But we're concentrating only on property taxes. The monthly property taxes on a property for $650,000, the monthly property taxes is $677, which is 1.25. So the annual property taxes for this client should be $8,124. They should be $8,174. So what's going to happen with this client? What's going to happen is that the taxes were already issued, and they're already issued for next year, and they're already issued at $1,000. Now, the client is buying the property in December. So the previous owner was paying $1,000. The new taxes are going to be around $8,100. So there should be a supplemental tax for the whole year of $7,000 for the whole year. Now, if I divide $7,000 by 12, a certain amount, if I multiply it by 7 months because my client is buying in December, then he's going to receive a supplemental tax of $4,115. And he's going to receive, and say that again. Questions?
Nope.
So he's going to receive this bill on 2 installments. 2 installments of $2,000 each. And he should pay those bills. This is the way supplemental taxes work. Any questions up to now?
Didn't the probation on the supplemental, they charge that whole year?
No. So basically the supplemental tax for the whole year is $7,000. He's going to receive a supplemental tax of $4,000 because of 7 months, because we close in December. So it is prorated. It is prorated.
I thought it was going to be 2 installments of 4,000.
No. It's a total of 7,000 based on 2 installments. Questions, comments? Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So I'll go to the next slide, Dawson. Sorry. So next year, what's going to happen? So next year, the county is going to make the taxes, and it's going to make the taxes in 2024. They're going to make them around September, and they're going to make them based on the owner in January of 2024. In January of 2024, my client is going to be the owner. So next year, the county is going to make the taxes, and they're going to base it at $8,000, at 1.25 of the purchase price. Make sense? If I see it together, the 2 years, 2023, 2024, and 2025, it's going to look something like this. It's going to look something like this. Supplemental taxes, and then the right taxes at $8,000. The 2 secure property taxes, this is the 2 installments, and this one. Any questions till now? This is how it's going to look the next year. Now, what happens if you close a transaction in January 15? So if you close a transaction in January 15, what's going to happen is the next thing. How many supplemental taxes is the client going to receive? So the normal answer is that the client brings you the supplemental taxes, and you say you're just going to receive those supplemental taxes, and that's it. You're not going to receive supplemental taxes again. You got to be very careful, because if the client closes in January 15, they're going to receive 4 supplemental taxes, because this is what's going to happen. So if you close a transaction in January 15, who's the owner January 1st of 2024? The previous owner. The previous owner. So if the previous owner is the owner in the year 2024, which it covers 2024 and 2023, again, the county is going to calculate the taxes at $1,000. So they did it for this year, and again, they're going to calculate them for the next year. And if that happens, then you have supplemental taxes for 2023, for the fiscal year 2023, and then you have supplemental taxes for the year 2024.
So what will be that date so they can receive only 2?
Say that again?
What will be that date after that date of closing? They will get only 2 supplemental taxes.
The day that they receive the supplemental taxes?
No. What will be the date for the buyer not to receive 4 supplementals, just to receive 2?
If they close before January 1st. If they close before January 1st, then they're only going to receive 1 supplemental taxes based on 2 installments. But if you close within January 2nd, and June 30th, if you close within that range, you're going to receive 4 supplemental taxes. 2 bills of 4 installments. 2 bills of 4 installments. If you close anywhere between January 2nd and June 30th, you're going to receive 2 supplemental taxes on 4 installments. Make sense? Okay, so if you close a transaction in January 15 January 15th, that the county makes the taxes based on, can you check Zoom? I think we got disconnected on Zoom. Okay. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to receive those supplemental bills. Obviously, be careful, because on the next semester, if you close any transaction on the next semester, the client is going to receive 4 supplemental taxes. Depending on the previous owner, how much taxes was the previous owner paying is the amount of the supplemental taxes that you're going to receive. On this case, I saw the clients and I saw, it's a client that is a trust, a probate. I better check what they were paying in taxes, because the hit is going to be tremendous. I had a client that they purchased a property, and then they rebuilt the property, and they spent about $15,000 rebuilding the property. So when they rebuilt the property, they were like, they received the supplemental taxes, and they were very upset. Now, the excuse that every loan officer has, is, Julio, the real estate agent should have explained that to you. Now, the real estate agent is going to say, well, this is numbers, so numbers, talk to the loan officer. And then the loan officer is going to say, well, you sign 4 forms. When you sign everything on the contract and everything, you sign 4 different forms talking about supplemental taxes. The realtor never explained this to you. But obviously, we don't want to throw the realtor under the bus. So it is explained to the clients on 4 different forms on the WIN forms when they sign the contract. But usually the realtors don't explain it very detailed on this. So that is what happens with the county. Any questions with what happens with the county? At the same time, there's 3 parties here. There's a county, there's a bank, and there's a client. So the tax assessor says a secure property tax based on my example. A secure property tax is $535 for the second semester. Now, they send a bill of supplemental taxes to my client for $4,000. The bill of supplemental taxes, the client has to pay it. The client has to pay for them. The homeowners pay taxes, and they pay taxes, but they pay taxes to the bank. They're actually not paying taxes. They're just putting it on a savings account. Savings account is called the escrow account. So the borrowers pay the bank the taxes, and the escrow balance, it should be around $4,700. Should be $4,700 plus reserves. But let's just say that it's about $4,700. So the bank should hold by April 10th, the bank should hold $4,700, but they only receive a bill of $500. The bank pays the tax assessor. The tax assessor charges the client for the supplemental taxes. So what happens is they receive a secure taxes for $500. The bank pays the $500. And the next thing that the bank does every year around April, is that they make analysis of the escrow account. And when they make an analysis of the escrow account, they realize that they have an overage of about $4,200. When they realize they have this overage of $4,200, they return the money to the borrowers. But when they return the money around May, April or May, that's when they do the escrow analysis. So you're going to get your money back. You tell a client, this is what we need to explain. Hey, this is how it works. You're going to get the supplemental taxes. You pay the bank makes an escrow analysis, and they're going to return the money. But the client is going to tell you, well, Oscar, I just have the bills right now. And the bills are saying that they're due on this date, and I need to pay it now. And you're telling me that the bank is going to review the escrow account until May? Yes. If you trust me, that's what's going to happen. In May, they're going to return the money. But if you really need to pay it right now, you can call the bank, send the bills to the bank, the secure property taxes and the supplemental taxes, and ask for the bank to do an escrow analysis. If you ask directly for the bank to do an escrow analysis, the bank will do an escrow analysis and they will return the money within weeks. Only if you call the bank. Make sense? Any questions?
Also, if you request them to pay the taxes sometimes.
Say that again?
If you request the bank to pay the supplemental taxes, sometimes they do, depends on the bank.
So Maria is saying if you request the bank to pay the supplemental taxes, they can pay the supplemental taxes. They can, based on that escrow analysis. I mean, they're not going to pay it just because you need to use the right words. Hey, can you transfer me to the escrow department? Hey, can you do an escrow analysis because I have my supplemental taxes, and can you pay them directly? So either the bank or they give you the money back that they will return. Make sense? Questions? No questions? Does it make sense only on my head, or is it boring, or you dominate the subject? Either one. So the next step, I don't have a presentation because I ran out of time. The next step is the more complicated one. The next step is the more complicated one. Just leave the presentation, doesn't. So this is the most complicated one. The bank only charges to a certain extent, we calculate the taxes at 677, and we calculate the taxes based on 1.25. Why 1.25? Huh?
No.
It's an average. It's an average. It's not really 1.25. In reality, the tax bill is 1%. It has a bunch of junk fees that the junk fees make it around 1.25. But the actual tax rate is 1%. The actual tax rate. With the BS fees, 125. So we calculated 125. In reality, if you want to be very sneaky, now you're out of compliance. But you can say, well, I'm just going to charge you $500. I'm just going to charge you $500. And at the end of the year, the bank will make an escrow analysis, and the right taxes is going to charge you for the right taxes. We can say that as a bank. We can say that. Now we're out of compliance. And if I charge him $300 because I can put $300 and just say, I'm going to put $300 and then let the bank do an escrow analysis at the end of the year. I can do that. But the client can sue me, because the client can say, well, you told me that this was the payment and now my payment is this. So there's a difference here. That's why we need to be very careful with that. But in reality, we're only estimating what the amounts are going to be. And every year the bank makes the escrow analysis, and every year the bank realizes how much they need to charge. Now, when the bank makes the escrow analysis, the bank is legally only supposed to charge you whatever the county is charging you. So if the county charged the bank $500 in 6 months, the bank should be charging you $600 in 6 months. So they should be charging you around $100. So what the bank does, this is where supplemental taxes go. This is where secure property taxes go. So the bank says, let me make my escrow analysis. And when I make my escrow analysis, well, Chucks, I mean, I just received a bill of $1,000 for the whole year. And I was paying you $8,000. So if I continue doing the same thing, I'm going to be returning $7,000 every year. So I'm going to reduce your mortgage payment. I'm going to reduce your mortgage payment by $80, because $80 times 12 is $1,000. And the bank does, and I think this is incorrect, but it's just the way that it works. When they do the escrow analysis, when they return your money, they say, hey, I charge you too much that I have $4,000 here. And if I continue doing the same thing, I'm going to fall into the same situation. So might as well, I'm going to reduce this taxes to $80. So guess what? The payment of the client goes down by $600. And when the payment goes down for the client for $600, the client is never, ever going to call you. They're just going to be happy. They're going to get the check, and they're never going to call you back. Now for the next year, they're putting into the escrow account $80, $80, $80, $80. Then the county makes the taxes, and now it's $8,000. Now guess who's short? The client is the one who's short, because they only put on the escrow account $80 for the whole year. Now the bank has $1,000 to pay for the taxes, and they receive a bill of $8,000. So what happens is that the bank pays out of their own pocket the $8,000. Out of their own pocket, they pay the $8,000, and they say, client, what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase it to the right amount, $600. But I just paid out of my pocket $7,000. Those $7,000, I'm going to divide them by 12, and I'm going to increase them on your payment. So this tax goes to $1,500. I'm sorry, they go around to $1,200, $1,100. And that's when the client calls you. And that's when the client calls you and says, what the fuck? Very upset. My payment just went up. Remember you receive a check? Remember that you were paying, instead of 47, you were paying $4,000? Yes. Well, you should be paying the 48,700. You should be paying the 4,700 to the escrow account. So that doesn't happen. And that's what originated that. So when you see this situation, you need to tell the client, this is what's going to happen. That you're going to get a check back for $4,000. When you get that check back for $4,000, your payment is going to be reduced $500. I need you to do a favor for me. I need you to continue paying $4,700. Continue paying $4,700. But if you pay the $4,700, just the $4,700, the bank is going to assume that you're sending $500 to the principal. The bank is going to assume that you're sending $500 to the principal, and it's not going to suffice the problem. It's not going to resolve the problem. You need to send $4,200 as my regular payment and $500 extra to the escrow account. If you don't assign it to the escrow account, you're going to fall into the same problem, even if you were sending $4,700. Make sense? And that's the way it works. Questions, comments? Clear as mud? See, I guess that's it. Half an hour. Okay, I'll set this presentation. Be just very careful when the bank reduces the payment. That's the more critical. Maria?
Just to share a comment. One day a client calls me, she said her payment went very high and she couldn't afford it. I asked her, you receive a check? And she said, no, I didn't. You receive a check? No, I didn't. So I said, maybe your husband spent it and he didn't tell you, he will never do that. So we called the bank and the bank says, we send a check. And she says, I never got it. So they're going to investigate that check, to put a stop payment. And then the next day she called me and says, you know what, Maria, I didn't open all my mail, and it was inside of an envelope. Now it's been months, so it's not good because I think they make it only for 60 or 90 days to cash it. So it's very important to tell the clients to check their mail, because sometimes the check can be there. And also when you're signing loan docs, saying if for any reason your payments go down, let me know, because you don't want it to happen where they're going to increase it double. So you have to put that little information in their mind, so when that happens, you don't let it go all the way until they get upset.
So what Maria is talking about, I don't know if the Zoomers heard that or not. There's a lot of clients that set up the payment as automatic payment. So e-docs. So they don't open their bills anymore. So they receive the mortgage statement, but why am I going to open the mortgage statement if I have everything done automatically? So they don't open their bills anymore. When they receive the check back from the bank, sometimes they don't even open that envelope. And they say, I never got it, but it's actually in one of those envelopes. Now, if for whatever reason the check got lost, you can always call the bank, and the bank will do an analysis of the account. It will see if they sent you a check, and they will see if the check was charged or not. If it wasn't charged, they're going to issue another check. No problems. But it does happen a lot what Maria's talking about, that I mean, I do open my mortgage statements and I have it automatically, but there's a lot of clients that don't. For those who don't, they need to check everything. And like Maria said, when they were signing long docs, hey, if you receive a check back, call me, because I have to explain what's going to happen to you. Now, if you're already there and you're saying, hey, if you're going to receive a check back, call me, then you should already check the property profile. That you already checked how much they were paying the previous owner. And if you're going to have this problem, sometimes this problem is not a big problem. If the previous owner was paying $5,000 or $6,000, from $6,000 to $8,000 is not a huge problem. The problem is that when you have it at $1,000 and it goes to $8,000, that's a huge problem. The client needs to be aware of what's going to happen. So Maria suggesting, tell the clients, put it in their minds, hey, any check that you receive, anything, just call me, because I need to explain what's going to happen.
On a refi, is it the same for supplemental taxes?
On a refi, what kicks supplemental taxes? That's a great question. What kicks supplemental taxes? Supplemental taxes is a change of ownership. That is one. So if you're doing a refinance, and on the refinance you were with Maria, you and Maria purchased a property, and you're refinancing and removing Maria, that's a change of ownership, and that's going to kick supplemental taxes. As a change of ownership, and it's going to kick. So,
And it's just the same, the spread between the loan amount and the old loan amount?
no, it is the difference between the new value of the house and how much the city had to assess before.
So they just reassess.
They just reassessed.
And I've called them before and they don't tell me how they calculate that.
There's an office. Balboa, I don't know if you know this, but Balboa to us is parallel to the 405. But Balboa, for whatever reason, if it goes north to Granada Hills, it turns and it crosses the highway number 5. When it crosses number 5, on the right-hand side, there's a tax assessor office. There's no one in that tax assessor office. Balboa and Foothill. There's no one there as far as clients. No one. There's always a person there helping. The best hours are between 10 and 12, and they're always very helpful, and they give you all the information. They're very nice, very helpful, because they don't have too much work, to be honest. So there's a lot of I have seen a lot of refinances. If it's the same person, it's not going to get reassessed. So if you own a property, Fernanda, and you refinance the property under Fernanda, it's not going to reassess. What about if I do a cash out? It's not going to reassess. It only reassess on a change of ownership. There's a lot of clients. I had a client with that he had about 5 different refinances, and the 5 different refinances, believe it or not, it was the type of Pulido. She's my wife, she's not my wife, she's my wife, she's not my wife, she's my wife, she's not my wife. So the guy was removing the wife because it was an FHA, not my wife. Conventional loan, my wife. FHA, not my wife. Conventional loan, my wife. So believe it or not, that was the situation of the guy. So when I did the refinances, I did it, and the county thought that it was not his wife. Reassess the value. We sent it the marriage certificate. So we went there and we said, okay, I think this is what happened. I said, I don't know if they're going to believe it, dude, because in the past you said that it was not your wife. But we took the marriage certificate, we took everything, and they reassessed the value down. It takes them about a year. And they can issue supplemental taxes the other way also. So if they evaluated the property or the value of the property at this amount, and then you were able to convince them that it should be this, they do issue supplemental taxes, but the county issues a check back for the supplemental tax credit. But that's what happened with that client. Sorry, Pulido, pero.
And the exceptions are spouses, grandchildren, and children, right?
Spouses, grandchildren, and parents, it should not get reassessed. Now, it's very important that when you do a refinance, and if I do a refinance with my son, Javier, let's just say, there's a form that needs to be filled. I have to fill that inside. Javier is my son. This transfer is between father and son. If you do not submit that form, if you not tell the escrow, make sure that you're submitting this form, the property is going to get reassessed. The other supplemental tax is if you do any repairs to the house, if you do any additions, if you ask for permits, then the property gets reassessed and it's going to kick supplemental taxes. Juan, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just to have clear, between what time is when the the client is gonna receive 2 supplemental tax bills? You said between January 15th to June?
Second to June 30.
January 2nd to June 30th, okay. So every deal that we close on those dates, they're gonna receive 2 supplemental tax bills.
2 supplemental tax bills for installments. But yeah, yes,
So everything from July to December, just 1 supplemental tax bill.
that is correct. And the reason being, if you close this semester, this is 2024. Now, 2024, the first semester goes from January to June. If you close, these taxes were already issued. These ones were already issued. If you close anywhere after January 1st, you were not the owner of that property. So if you're not the owner in January 1st, then you're going to get this supplemental taxes. And then when they make the taxes for this year, they're going to base the taxes based on the January 1st owner. If it was the owner of January 1st, then you're going to get this taxes also. Now, if you purchase the property here in this semester, now this semester, you're going to get the supplemental taxes for this semester, but for this year, when you're the owner already. So in January, when they make the taxes again, you're already the owner. Makes sense? So right now they're getting the property tax, the tax bill. They're getting the supplemental taxes. Be sure that that's the way that it works.
Now, I do remember a client calling me the other day that he received an amended supplemental.
I don't know when they issue that amended supplemental. What I do know, do you, Pulido?
Now, let me ask you this. He first presented the first one. He said, well, I first got this one, and now I'm getting this amended bill. So I noticed that the amended bill was a little higher, and I was just like, we're gonna have to call, but I'm assuming since this is a little higher, I would take the amended as the correct bill.
Dawson, can you take me out and take me to share the screen for the Google, the Google screen? Okay, so my Google screen, that one. No, the actual browser. So just say got it. Okay, so on my browser, this for whatever reason is not going there. But in my browser, don't put the Google search because they're going to see that I'm Googling searches for women. So the cabrón. Just make it bigger. Hold on, there we go. Okay, on my Google browser, I do have the county tax assessor there. So whenever the client brings an amendment, brings this, I always go to the tax assessor office and I check their bills. And I check their bills and I check the actual bills. So on the internet for the tax assessor office, you're going to tell you the actual bills that they're there. Because sometimes they bring 4, sometimes they bring 2, there's sometimes that they.
But the updated should supersede the previous one or not necessarily.
To be honest, I don't know. So I go to the internet and I see which ones are active. And that's how I go about. Now, Can we, did this happens a lot also? Can we just put the screen and we have a couple of minutes? So, ¿tienes el marcador o no? Para escribir en el pizarrón. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so just so you will know, you don't see it often, but let's just pretend that my client, that one for Cobalt. Yeah, I forgot the name of the street, but let's just say Cobalt, like this. They were paying $500 every 6 months. But then it's a great investment. And here comes an investor and purchased the property in February. And they purchased the property. They purchased the property in February. And like good investor, they just paint the house and they sell it. And they sell it in March or June to an actual bona fide buyer. Now, this one, obviously for $1,000 a year, it was assessed about $120. This guy's purchased a property at $350. They paint it and they're selling the property to the buyer at $600,000. So what the county does, so the county doesn't react too fast. So the county says, oh, Chuck's investor, supplemental taxes. Supplemental taxes because you were the investor. But they're going to issue the supplemental taxes around August, September. And in August, September, this guy is already the owner. But they're going to issue the taxes, and they're going to issue the taxes to the current owner, the supplemental taxes. And then the new buyer, another supplemental taxes, another jump, so another supplemental taxes, and they issue the supplemental taxes to this guy. So the guy receives the supplemental taxes for the investor and the supplemental taxes for him. This bill, I don't remember if it actually under the name of the investor. Sometimes it is, but it's on the property. And the county doesn't care who the owner is. The county puts the taxes on the property. They don't care who the owner is. So this going to the taxes of the property. Now this buyer is going to say, well, they're not my taxes. So if they're not my taxes, I'm not going to pay for it. But they will get recorded. On the property, on title, they will get recorded. So the buyer needs to go to the office and say, hey, these are not my taxes. I purchased the property, blah, 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 blah. And the tax assessor office will remove them. But only if you act on it. If you don't act on it, they will always be on the property. Make sense that this happens?
And Oscar, the investor gets charged, like the investor actually gets a supplemental tax. So he has to pay it, even if he sold the property already, he's gonna get a supplemental.
That is correct. The only thing is that is mailed, usually is mailed to the property. Now, if you call, trust me, an investor that you know, Jorge? Christian. So if you call Christian and you say, Christian, hey, the buyer is calling me, dude. I mean, the new owner, and we receive supplemental taxes. Christian is going to say it's on the property. I don't care. It's very, very seldom that Christian is going to say, yes, dude, that's my bill and I'm going to pay for it. Very seldom. And I don't know how the county does it either to track Christian. I don't know. But those taxes are on the property. And those taxes, I'm the new buyer. So what do I do with them? So I go to the selling agent, but the selling agent doesn't control Christian. Who controls Christian? The listing agent. So the selling agent goes and says to the listing agent, hey, dude, remember Christian, your seller? The guy who was a total, we got a bill. Can he pay for this bill? The listing agent is going to say, I'm going to call Christian. I'm trying to convince him to sell another property, and I'm going to come up with a bill. I'm not going to call him. So it's very, very hard. But if the client goes to the tax assessor office and says, this is not my bill, they will remove them. Otherwise, when he refinances, when he tries to do anything, they will be part of his debt. it sucks, but that's the way it works. That's the way it works.
That's the risk when buying lit properties.
Mhm.
That doesn't, I think, I'm not sure about yours, but that's
You
how
know,
I've got
that
amended
that property
taxes.
was purchased with a gift of equity, so I don't know if that might have to do anything with the updated supplemental.
Mhm.
But yeah, he had an updated supplemental.
Mhm.
And I have a client who, this lady bought the house last year for 350 and then she sold it this year for 290. Is the buyer gonna get a supplemental or no, because she bought it for less than the previous owner?
Depending on the dates, that happen. So if your seller, your client purchased a property and then they resold it, right? When did they purchase property?
I think it was like March of last year.
Okay, so March of last year, there are supplemental taxes for her. Now, if she sold the property and she never,
She sold it at a loss.
at a loss. So at a loss is not going to receive a supplemental taxes. A loss is not going to receive. So what happened a lot in 2008 and 2009? What happened in 2008 and 2009? A lot of people were losing their houses. So you purchase a house. In a way, when I purchased my house, right now it's worth much more. Right now it's worth around $800, $800,000. But when I purchased my property, I purchased the property at $560. That's how I purchased my house. And then there was a time in 2008 and 2012, there was a time that the property value for my house was around 420. That was the value. If I short sell my property at 420, if I short sell my property, the tax bill is based on this one. So the tax bill is, let's just say that it's $7,000 because it's based on 560. But the new buyer purchased the property at 420. So at 420 should be $5,000, the tax bill. So the county sends a bill of $7,000. The bank pays the $7,000. But the county says, you know what, this new buyer, let's just say that it's Pulido. You know what, Pulido, sorry, I made a mistake. It should have been $5,000. So I'm going to issue a supplemental credit. And a lot of clients were receiving supplemental credits. Instead of charge, it's a supplemental credit. And the county used to do that a lot. Around 2008 and 2009. So in the case of Fernanda, what she's saying is that she sold it at a loss. If the price was lowered, then that could have happened. That could have happened. Not necessarily sold on a loss, but sold at a lower price. Make sense? Well, that's it. No more questions. Thank you.